Good evening. Welcome to the Municipality of South Dundas Council meeting for Wednesday, November 26, 2025. Welcome to the council team, staff, guests, media, and all the viewers online. I'd like to call this meeting to order. I have a resolution. Let it be resolved that the November 26, 2025 council meeting in the Municipality of South Dundas now be opened at 5:59 p.m. Moved by Councillor Ward, seconded by Councillor Vino. All in favor? Carried. Confirmation of agenda. Any additions, deletions, or amendments to the agenda? Councillor Smith.
Thank you, Mayor Broad. I'd like to pull 9C from
9C.
consent and move that to notices of motion, please.
Okay, 9C. Deputy Mayor.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor Broad. I'd like to pull from the consent agenda items 9A just to discussions.
9A to discussions.
Yep, thank you.
Very good. Any other additions, deletions, amendments? Seeing none, I have a motion. Let it resolve that the Council of Municipality of South Dundas approve the agenda as amended. Moved by Councillor Smith, seconded by Deputy Mayor St. Pierre. All in favor? Carried. Is there any disclosure of pecuniary interest in the general nature thereof for tonight's meeting? Seeing none, adoption of minutes. Are there any errors, omissions, corrections for the November 12th regular council meeting? Seeing none, I have a motion. Let it resolve that we adopt those minutes. Councillor Ward, seconded by Councillor Smith. All in favor? Carried. And we'll move into delegations. 3 tonight. So happy to have another youth recognition tonight. And I'll pass it over to Clerk LeBrun.
Thank you, Mayor Broad, and to Council. Tonight we have the privilege of recognizing a truly exceptional young person, Aiden Adams. And you can come on up, Aiden, if you want to come sit at the table. And the reason we're recognizing him tonight is for his outstanding volunteerism and his remarkable resiliency. So many of you know Aiden as a beloved mascot of the Iroquois Apple Festival, always the first to arrive on site and help with setup. This year, he was accepted as a junior member of the Iroquois Matilda Lions Club, and he's an active member of the Seaway District High School Student Council, the Apple Festival Committee, and the Dixon Community Christian Reform Youth Group as well. Even at his young age, and for several years, Aiden has been a dedicated volunteer with numerous organizations in South Dundas, the Royal Canadian Legion, the Lions Club, Iroquois and District Business Group, Eat to Feed program, his church, the Float with Us for Autism Committee. So whether it's washing dishes, serving food, setting up tents and displays, or bringing joy as the Apple mascot and the Grinch at the Iroquois Christmas night market, Aiden is always eager to help wherever and whenever needed. A community that works together is a strong community. Aiden, your unwavering dedication to volunteering and your remarkable resiliency in the face of health challenges exemplify the very best of our community spirit. Thanks for being here.
Thanks, Clerk LeBron. And congratulations, Aiden. I know we celebrated your volunteer work at the Business Awards Gala back at the end of October, but I also was impressed because I wanted to have you back and recognize that, but also your resiliency as a youth and overcoming the maple syrup disease at this point. And I first met you at Apple Fest 2022. It was the first time. I have a picture, you and me. I took a selfie, and you and the apple, and me at Apple Fest. Almost the same size as an apple. So it's all. But been impressed with you, and I was happy to help MC the night. We did some fundraising for you, and we had you on FaceTime, when you were in the Toronto hospital. So that was really cool that we could do that and raise some money for you and your family and help you out because of all the things you've done for our community. So congratulations, and I'm so happy that things are moving forward for you.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor Broad. I guess I just really am curious. I don't mean to put you on the spot, but where's your passion come from of being, like, in my opinion, a community leader at a ripe age of, 17? So where's that passion come from?
Possibly through, just to be part of a small community is, so great. the amount of things you can do in a small community versus a city. Versus a city, you meet a lot of people, but you technically don't know them all. When you're in a small community, you have a chance to know them. And basically, I, at the beginning, met with Candace Latula, and that was the first time in the Apple Festival that I started. And after the Apple Festival, I truly loved the community support and everything in that Apple Festival. And frankly, I just love this community and love the support. And basically, my passion comes from this community.
Well, that's what can I say? I don't know what to say. That's really awesome to hear and very inspiring for everybody, to be honest with you. It doesn't matter what the age group is. So thank you for that, and I congratulate you. May I ask a second question? So you're on student council, and do you have a specific role on student council? Are you president yet, or prime minister, or like do you run the school board yet? Like,
So actually, I am spirit rep. I lead the spirit in the school. By Spirit Days, we do Christmas decor, decorate everything in Christmas or Halloween. And I have been nominated this meeting on Wednesday. We have a student council meeting every Wednesday. And this Wednesday, I was nominated to be the student body council rep. And that means I would go to school councils meetings, like parent council, and talk to the teachers and just engage with everybody and tell them what we're doing and hear what they're doing and what they want to do for us. So
congratulations. That's fabulous. Thank you.
Councillor Ward?
I just wanted to say I certainly hope someone's building you a very big shelf that can hold a lot of things, because I see a lot of awards coming your way and you do so much work for the community. So thank you. And, sometimes they say you meet someone and they're about to change everyone's lives. I do think that that's true, and good for you. And hopefully you can inspire others to do the same. So thank you.
Awesome. Councillor Smith?
Yeah, congratulations, Aiden. I think we first met just in passing at the Eat to Feed program. It would be probably 4 or 5 years before COVID, maybe even. And so Aiden, Aiden's not new to this. Aiden's been volunteering for probably a good part of your teenage life, and since COVID, everywhere we go, Aiden's there, and it's like he's like the quintessential volunteer, and it still baffles me sometimes that there's a requirement in high school. You have to have 40 hours of volunteer to graduate, and there's still children in grade 12 that oh my God, I don't have my volunteer hours. Like, where do I go? I don't know where to go to volunteer. And all they have to do is just maybe follow Aiden around for a week and they'll have their volunteer hours done.
Follow a week and have it done.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So anyways, congratulations, buddy.
Yeah. Cool. I'll have you come forward and accept the certificate of congratulations and recognition of your volunteer efforts and your resiliency. We proudly present this to Aiden Adams, who is making a remarkable community impact. So thank you, Aiden. Come on forward. Trip. Oh yeah. Okay, moving on our delegations, we have OP update from Inspector Mark Hemrick. Welcome, Inspector Hemrick. Glad to see you back in South Dundas.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, councillors, for having me this evening. I will try and stay on time. I did hear that there are squares being taken about how much time I might take up at this evening's. Just so you know, I know how to rig the time, by the way. Once again, thank you very much for having me this evening. I will try and keep it brief, Mr. Mayor. I would like to apologize, first of all, to you and council. So I had made it a practice to come every year to all of the 6 municipalities, present in front of council and staff, sort of give you an update and give you some face-to-face time. Although I do regularly meet with the detachment board, and they are the liaison to county council and down to the local councils. I do like to have this FaceTime just to get to know the people in the room and also answer some questions. But I know last year I was away on a comment in Aurelia, so I wasn't able to make it, and I did not send a delegate this way. So my apologies for that. I would like to thank you, Mr. Mayor, and the councillors and all of your staff here. Certainly from myself, but also from the officers and our staff that work at the SDNG OPP. We are extremely lucky to have everybody's support. I know that having traveled around the province, met with different detachment commanders, certainly different municipal police leaders as well, we are very, very fortunate to be so well supported by the municipal councils, by the county council, and by all of the staff. I know our officers don't always appreciate that, but when I travel around and just hear some other stories about some maybe friction that goes on, I always bring it back, and I always remind them just how well supported we are. And I think that we see that as well. The latest community satisfaction surveys have come out, and I'm always very pleased to see that the residents of SDNG that do fill it out are very pleased with the service they are responding from the OPP. Just like to certainly touch on just a couple of issues or just a couple of things. Certainly, I'm sure everybody in the room is aware that this year has been a particularly deadly year on the roadways that bisect SDNG. I wish I didn't have to deliver this update, but it has been a very tragic year, and I wish I had that magic solution that I could provide to council or staff and say, this is the reason why. And this is where it's occurring, and this is how we're gonna fix it. Unfortunately, I just don't have that. We have analyzed, looked at all of those collisions over and over and over, and we cannot come up with one area that requires our attention, or one environmental factor that is causing it. Unfortunately, our fatalities in SDNG, whether they're occurring on the roadways or they're occurring on private property, continue to be because of speeding, handheld mobile device usage, lack of safety equipment, whether that be seatbelts or helmets. We're seeing a lot of private property usage where improper safety equipment is not being used. And finally, impaired driving. It is staggering the number of impaired drivers that are still out on our roads despite our best efforts. I certainly can say that as we speak to the action plan that I know that was distributed through County Council through an MS Forms to get the feedback that will be coming out through 2026, that was the number one issue that was brought to my attention, where not only council, but all of the focus groups that I met with or sent forms to, they want to see more OPP presence out on the road doing traffic enforcement. We have a tremendous network of roads. I would say that the roads that go through our municipalities and through the counties and are done by the province, there's not a better maintained network of roadways in the entire province. So it's not an environmental problem. We really need to moved more to that enforcement phase and that's something that has come up in the action plan and something that we will be addressing over the next 4 years. Another highlight within the, and a close second for our action plan was actually community engagement. And I know I've spoken to council and staff in the past about community engagement and how important it is to me. I know that as a youth and growing up in the city of Cornwall, I had a very strong relationship with the police. And I encourage my officers as much as possible, and certainly I encourage them not just the summer when it is busy during festival season, but all year round to be out in the community as much as they can and be engaging with the community as much as they can. Stopping in at the local hockey games, stopping at any, local events that might happen. That was the number two thing that came in from the groups that participated in feedback towards the action plan was they just wanted to see a police officer in their community. They didn't care that it was one of our black and whites. They just wanted to see more OPP presence. So that is something that we will certainly be working on. The third thing was our mobile crisis response team. There was a big push to see the mobile crisis response team expand again. I am happy to say that for the next year and a half, we were fortunate to get another grant. Our team will be doubling its capacity and doubling its hours. I have instructed the team as well that when they are not actually engaging in their regular crisis response duties or follow-up duties with the crisis response team, that I would like to see them greater engaged with the community. One of the focus area, two of the focus areas where they will be focusing their time is actually with our elderly population. Because they're seeing a big increase in calls for service for our aging population that are suffering from mental health issues. So they'll be getting some additional training from the grant, and they will be engaging a lot more with our aging elderly population. The second area we will actually have very focused training with our partners in Akwesasne, the elders in Akwesasne, who will be helping us better understand how they have traditionally dealt with mental health and addictions issues and how they have supported people within the community. We're really hoping to learn some new things and apply some traditional techniques to that, because we really feel that the Indigenous community within Akwesasne has a lot to teach us. Finally, I certainly want to highlight, and I was surprised that this did not come up, but in the satisfaction surveys, we did see that people do feel very safe and well policed by the OPP. We see that with the crime scene index. We continue to be one of the safest. The 6 municipalities in the counties continue to be one of the safest communities to live in all of Canada. When it comes to our overall crime statistics, we remain level, and we're actually seeing some of them actually trend downward. So I'm very pleased to see that. Our clearance rates continue to go up. So we are seeing great overall police work. Finally, thank you for your feedback with the action plan. It has been extremely helpful. It was the first year that the action plan was mandated in legislation, where OPP detachment commanders actually had to seek feedback. Generally, we created the action plan, took it to the board, said, what do you think? They were like, yeah, whatever you want. And then it was submitted, and that was our plan. This has been much more of a process, much more like a municipal chief of police is required to do under the act. So it's much more comprehensive, and I think and there are going to be much more strategic goals for this plan moving forward. That is all I have for you this evening, Mr. Mayor. Trying to stay on time and not take up too much time, but happy to answer any questions.
Sure. No, that's great, Inspector Hemrick. Appreciate your comments at the start. Certainly, previous CEO Mills, current CEO Dahan, we've reached out to yourself or to Constable Blanchard and had responses. So, obviously appreciate your comments, but we feel like we do get excellent communication back, and we're pleased with that. So, but the more time you're here, we're happy to have you to take up 7 or 8 minutes of our time, whoever has that in the pool. I did I did open up the action plan because I saved a copy of it for myself. What I wrote a few months ago about 26 and forward, and certainly you hit on traffic safety and enforcement, community engagement, mental health. That was my top three things, which you touched on. And I know for us, speeding. Rural areas, but speeding in town is a concern brought up by a lot of residents. And one thing that I noted in my specific feedback, and maybe it's not, and I got thinking about it, maybe it's not on your plate, but maybe this is more of a shared thing. How you can help us is we do see quite a bit of vandalism in our communities. That's very obvious, in our community area. So just thinking about how, with our staff and with yourself, how we can think about vandalism and prevention and knowledge and cameras and signage, whatever it may be, to help in that area. Maybe that's a shared responsibility when it comes to vandalism. So, because I think we'd like to put end that if we could.
We are always happy to help, Mr. Mayor. We have a wide variety of techniques that we can use to work together to try and curb that. Yes, we are happy,
Yeah.
and if your staff wants to reach out to us either through myself or Sergeant Blanchette, we're more than happy to have a sit down and talk about what we can do together.
And I think our waterfront committees talk about it frequently as well, so we could do that. One last thing, glad to hear, certainly former roads director DeHaan, and you have current capital project leader at the county council, a roads network. And we do have a great roads network, so the two people here that are responsible for that are sure appreciative of your comments. Certainly, anytime I travel outside of SDG, I notice the difference. So appreciate your comments on how great our road network is. So. But I'll turn it over for any other comments. Deputy
Yeah,
Mayor?
thank you, Mayor Broughton. Thank you for the delegation. A couple questions, and it goes back to traffic safety. Obviously, we all know that along the borders, there's been more presence with OPP and more presence with RCMP. Has there been a difference in traffic safety in areas where there has been more presence over the last, let's say, 8 months, 6 months versus other areas throughout?
Absolutely, there has. There certainly has, and there is an absolute correlation between our visible presence, whether it's us or one of our policing partners. As I'm sure you're aware, we are very, very integrated with our policing partners within SDNG, the City of Cornwall, Akwesasne Mohawk Police, RCMP. We could sometimes almost function as one police service. We're that integrated. Yes, we absolutely do. So the areas that are, when we are working on our border integrity with our policing partners, we absolutely see a decrease, or I would say I would like to see maybe change that to an increase in traffic safety and driver behavior, like good behavior. And that's really what we're always trying to aim for. So we look at the four E's of traffic safety. So there's engagement, education, enforcement, and finally the last one being environment. Like if we see something environmental, that's when we work with our partners really to say, hey, this has got to change. But really all four of those things, what we are ultimately trying to achieve is a change in driver behavior. We are never going to completely eliminate, right? Some things are going to just happen by chance. I can tell you that one of the fatalities we had in South Glengarry, 2 cruisers had passed each other within 47 seconds, and the fatal happened in between them. And it was just bad luck. And there were other circumstances that I cannot speak of just because the collision's still being fully investigated, but it was just bad luck. But really, that's overall what we are trying to do. So to answer your question, yes, there is a big change when we see those types of patrols and additional officer hours.
And I would assume that is going back to the ministers so they can hear that more boots on the ground, more presence, more funding, that all will help with that safety, right?
Absolutely. You know, I tell my officers all the time that, you know, we can tell as many stories as we want to the ministry. They absolutely love to hear them. But at the end of the day, there's nothing more than they love than hard data, right? So yes, we are reporting back to the ministry. I often meet with MPP Quinn, and one of the topics we are always discussing, I might, you know, sort of partition off the 138 because it is just a nonstop piece of conversation, but we are always talking about traffic safety and really about that officer presence. And, you know, the more officers we have out there, the greater ability we have to go out and do those proactive traffic enforcement activities.
Just another one, if I may. One of the other things and CTV has been doing a great job over the last week talking about scams to our vulnerability and our elderly people. Are you guys doing any additional blitzing and information, maybe not information centers, but information to get that word out there to help with these scams? So, you know, again, I'm just thinking about the elderly here as well. That are very vulnerable, and or single family person. It doesn't even have to be a female; could be a male. So I'm just wondering what type of a increase.
So we absolutely are. So I'll give a little bit of a spoiler alert, but that is actually one of the points in our next 4-year plan is an increased engagement with our elderly population to try and decrease those phone and internet-based scams. So right now what we are doing is our community safety officer not only works with the schools, but he is regularly working with different groups that I'll say represent our more elderly population. Anything that he produces, we have available on our website, opp.ca. But also, we are more than anything that he presents, like a PowerPoint. We will be asking, I should say, that that our municipal partners set something up on their website so they're able to share it. So yeah, we are actively engaged in that. We're using all sorts of, as you said, you know, traditional media such as CTV, but also social media to really blast out those messages and help people, you know, not be victimized with those types of scams.
Yeah, I certainly think that's one of the things we can really heighten up as a municipality and work with the OPP and offer seminars, because, you know, again, I just think about my mother who's not on social media, that's, you know, is very vulnerable. So, you know, if we can heighten that up as well and offer more sessions and encourage everybody that has parents or anybody to attend them sessions, I think it would go a long way as well. So thank you. I apologize for going over the time slot, I guess.
Councillor Smith?
Yeah, thank you. Just a quick question about the 401. We saw a speed limit increase from 100 kilometers an hour to 110 kilometers an hour. Has that affected traffic safety at all? Is there any like data on that in terms of like collisions, speeding, those sorts of things?
So we don't have a complete data set yet. The ministry has been monitoring it, and they are looking at our electronic ticket system. So our electronic ticket system with our GPS to look at the fines that are being given on the 400 series highways versus the speed limit increase. So the initial testing, and the reason that it went province-wide, except for in those major centers, GTA, Ottawa, through the London corridor and through the Windsor corridor, where they reduce it back down to 100, is the data showed there was no increase in collisions because of the speed. And we have not seen a significant increase in speeding. So for example, you know, if the median speed that we were seeing on the 400 series highways was between, you know, 115 and 119 kilometers an hour, we have not seen it go, just because they've increased it, it's now not 125 to 129. I regularly patrol the 401 as well, and the 417. I take the 417 every day to get home or to and from work, and we have not seen an increase at this point.
Very good. I Okay. Also want to, and you highlighted it earlier on, thank you. We have seen an increased presence at the Morrisburg Arena, so for events. So the staff are definitely appreciative of that and has let us know about that. So appreciate circling around for different events and activities that we have going on in our community.
That is fantastic. I like to hear that. And I don't know if that young gentleman's still here, but I wish my entire team were here to hear him hear about all of his accomplishments. We could use him as a role model.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. So appreciate that very much. Okay. Well, thank you, Inspector Hemrick, for your time.
Well, thank you very much,
Thanks for
Mr.
coming
Mayor.
tonight.
Thank you, everyone. Have a nice evening.
And our third delegation tonight, we have our draft roads need study. I'll pass it over to Roads Manager, Director Jeff Hyman.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. So with us tonight, we have Dana Grant. Dana is the Manager of Capital Works with SDG County's Roads Department. Dana, along with coworkers, they performed our roads need study for 2025. The last report that was completed was in 2019 by McIntosh Perry. Within that report, that gave us a 10-year roads map of roads to be looked at, completed, rehabbed of some sort in our rural environment. So now with this new report, we're going to kind of change focuses on the direction that we're going, and I'll let Dana explain his findings.
Good evening. I'm used to coming in the morning, so to
Exactly,
say
yeah.
evening
Get
is
used to it,
that was my big stressor. So thank you. Today's presentation summarizes the draft findings of the 2025 road needs study for the municipality of South Dundas. The study reviews the condition of the road network and highlights where future investments should be focused. The goal is to give council a clear understanding of the current road needs and provide practical, cost-effective recommendations for the coming years. So a road needs study is essentially a health check for the municipality's road network. It's a process that provides values on how roads are performing, identifies which sections need maintenance, rehabilitation, reconstruction, and provides information to help council make informed decisions. The study is an important part of the municipality's asset management plan and can help reduce long-term costs while maintaining safe and reliable infrastructure. So there's two main approaches to completing a road needs study. The first is through visual assessment, where a road inspection is completed following the Ministry of Transportation's inventory manual or pavement condition index. The second is through automated methods such as LiDAR, which so what it does is it uses sensors and measures the conditions. County staff completed the visual assessment for South Dundas using the inventory manual. So South Dundas's road network has a total of 311 sections, which total 373 kilometers. Of that, 208 kilometers are asphalt, 108 kilometers are surface treated, and 57 are gravel. So to assess the condition of each road section, county staff used a modified version of the rating system that focuses on three key factors. These factors are surface condition, structural adequacy, and maintenance demand. Surface conditions measures how smooth and comfortable the road is to drive. Structural adequacy evaluates whether the road base is still in strong enough condition to support traffic. And the last is the maintenance demand, which ideally, essentially is looking how much cold patch or localized spot repairs that are completed from road staff. So based on the evaluation and section scoring, the roads were categorized as very good, good, fair, or poor. Overall, the study found that 57% of South Dundas' paved and surface-treated roads are in good or very good condition, while 43% fall into the fair or poor range. This means that although more than half of the network is performing well, there's still a significant portion that will require attention in the next several years. If these sections are left untreated, the cost to repair or replace them will increase significantly over time. The findings confirm the need for structured resurface plan that addresses roads before they reach the point of failure. So with an unlimited budget over a 15-year period, a total investment of $62.5 million would allow the municipality to address the road network in stages. During the first 10 years, improvements would be completed over 209 kilometers of roads at an estimated cost of $41.6 million, with the remaining 108 kilometers treated over the following 5 years at an additional $21.5 million. By the end of the 15-year investment, the roads rehabilitated in the first 5 years would be approaching the end of their useful life and require reinvestment once their 20-year service life is reached. Although most of the network would have been improved, many of these roads would experience premature failure if preventative maintenance is not carried out, adding an additional cost over and above the rehabilitation cost. So this scenario is a significant investment for a program designed to last 20 years. Given the financial pressures across all departments, Council is faced with challenges to provide stability and predictability in approved budgets. Investing over $40 million over 10 years is not feasible and would require inconsistent and unpredictable budget increases. County staff are proposing a consistent and achievable approach by spending a manageable amount of money each year so that the municipality continues to make progress without creating financial strain. So the recommended approach is called the Surface Renewal Overlay Program. This involves applying a thinner lift of hot mix asphalt at 35 millimeters thick on top of the existing surface. Even though it's a thinner layer than full construction, it still strengthens the road, improves ride quality, and greatly extends the road's service life. The advantage of the program is that it allows the municipality to resurface more kilometers each year within the same budget. It also reduces the amount of patching or emergency maintenance, giving municipal staff more time to focus on other priorities. Over time, this approach creates a strong road network at a lower cost per kilometer. For South Dundas, the proposed plan is to start with 13 kilometers of resurfacing in 2026 and gradually increase each year until 21 kilometers annually are achieved by 2034. With this schedule, South Dundas would have their entire hard surface network renewed within 15 years. This approach means the municipality can maintain predictable spending, strengthen the infrastructure while keeping the road condition from declining further. To put it into perspective, the unlimited budget option would cost over $40 million in a short period of time, while the Surface Renewal Overlay Plan achieves similar results over time with consistent annual investments. This key difference is that this plan fits within the municipal's financial capacity while improving overall road quality year after year. As the Surface Renewal Program moves forward, it will be important to plan and coordinate work carefully. A key focus should be on rural and semi-urban roads, grouping roads where possible to take advantage of volume pricing and keep costs down. South Dundas is in a good position for the villages of Morrisburg and Iroquois as they rely mostly on open ditch drainage systems rather than underground storm pipes. This means the Surface Renewal Overlay method is a practical, cost-effective village option, especially compared to the traditional road repair. In locations where underground services are present, surface renewal projects should be scheduled at the same time as underground upgrades are being completed to prevent duplicate work and reduce or to limit additional costs. By planning ahead, the municipality can extend the life of its roads while managing expenses responsibly. A follow-up inspection is recommended in 3 years to review how well the surface renewal program is performing. So the 4-year surface renewal plans strategically groups roads to maximize construction production for more efficient material installation, increased material volumes, and improved unit rates. The 4-year plan considers the potential need for underground service rehabilitations. Coordinating between departments is essential to ensure that completed surface renewals achieve their service life. Road cuts can significantly damage the infrastructures as it allows water to penetrate the granular base, accelerating road deterioration. By aligning surface renewal work with underground upgrades, this plan minimizes future scheduling conflicts, provides municipal staff time to coordinate surface and underground rehabilitation work efficiently, and supports reliable and sustainable roads. So to extend on the proposed 4-year plan, to extend on the 4-year plan, the proposed 2026 surface renewal work may be adjusted based on the success of pending funding announcement. The municipality has applied for water and wastewater funding for the east end of Morrisburg. If the funding is approved, the 2026 surface renewal roads in the village of Morrisburg would be shifted to correspond with underground work being completed. This adjustment will support the rehabilitation of underground services, including water and sewer infrastructure. This change is contingent on funding approval and aims to address critical underground infrastructure needs for long-term sustainability of road surfaces. So additional funding details and final 2026 rehabilitation plan will be provided to council by municipal staff once funding has been confirmed. So once follow-up inspections have been completed and staff are satisfied that the asphalt material is performing as expected, municipal staff can reallocate existing maintenance and patching programs to preservation applications to increase the durability and useful life of the SRO pavements. In summary, the study recommends that South Dundas commit to achieving an annual budget of $1.8 million to support resurfacing of 13 kilometers per year, with gradual increases until the municipality reaches a sustainable target of 21 kilometers per year by 2034. It's recommended that the municipality develop a gravel roads policy that defines when a road qualifies for hard surfacing and when it should remain gravel. This policy will help ensure fairness, consistency, and transparency in decision-making moving forward on roads with lower traffic volumes. It's also recommended that the future resurfacing locations be coordinated with neighboring municipalities such as North Dundas and South Stormont to take advantage of cost savings through joint tendering. Finally, a follow-up inspection is recommended in 2029 to evaluate the performance of the roads resurfaced between 26 and 2028. Which will help guide the next 4-year resurfacing plan. So with that, I will pass the next slide off to Mr. Hyman.
So we presented there a few weeks ago our capital program for the SRO with the roads that we know right now. So there is the opportunity that if funding is not granted for the east end side of Morrisburg, that we could reallocate those funds or some funds and add more roads to our 2026 capital roads budget within the village of Morrisburg. That's presently where we're going this year coming up. So we'd just be able to add some more roads. So, which would help with our cost, mobilization, and all the big ticket items. So, If there's anything else from Dana, he'd be happy to answer any questions, or you could fire away to me and I can answer any questions which you may have at this time.
Yeah, no, thanks, thanks, Mr. Grant. Thanks, Jeff, for your comments. Yeah, no, this is great to have a new eyes look at it and get a study and get a list going and see where we go. And obviously, budget discussions next Friday, and then for the following years, we'll happen to determine that. It definitely looks like our plan is to do village streets in Morrisburg in 2026, whether it's East End or West End. And then we would have to, if we ended up doing East End, then we went look for West End the following year, right? To take a look at how we may play that out. Just where did Iroquois, I know just on the plan there, it only showed that on that map for the public, just so the outlying years, 3 or 4 years, where did Iroquois streets kind of fall out in the year plans? Do you know offhand, or do you remember, Jeff?
Yeah, so we've got a few options based on what we see. So we could either incorporate them in 2027 or they could be incorporated in 2028, depending on what the 2027's scheduled roads look like as far as how are they holding. We could then change our plan up. So if we were to jump into Iroquois, we could pretty well tidy up the village of Iroquois within one fiscal year. Just because of the limited amount of kilometers for the roadways in Iroquois.
Good. Okay, that's good.
So,
Yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to add to that. So if the premise of the program is to try and achieve as many kilometers as possible. So we need to look at unit rates, and if we focus on villages if we focus on more than just if we do Morrisburg and Iroquois, you're focusing on all your villages all in one shot, you may not reach all of the accomplishments that you're targeting. So just something to be cautious.
Yeah, no, I just more or less thinking like the streets aren't quite as bad in Iroquois, so the outlying years versus the ones in Morrisburg at this point, right? That was kind of what I was thinking about. That we had to do back-to-back years, but just they would be due at some point. Deputy Mayor?
Yeah, thank you. And you kind of fed into my point. I appreciate the report. I like the report. At least we've got a good plan now. If you say 10 years, but I think it's 10 years beyond. I do want to get a balanced approach to this. I do think whether it's and I'm not saying a 50-50 split to our village streets to our rural streets, but I think we do need to have a balanced report. I think it is important that we continue doing a number of rural streets, but we do, and I drove over the weekend and I Google mapped and street viewed for a while all of the streets in our villages, and there are some streets that could be done sooner than later in Iroquois and in Morrisburg. So that's just my biggest thing is I think we owe it to everybody in South Dundas to keep having a balanced approach with resurfacing, whether it's a couple streets per village per year versus 6 or 7, main streets in the rural area or whatever. But that's my only thing I'd have to comment. I really do want a balance approach to this. So, because I think everything is important to get done, and I know we can't get it done in year 1 or 2, but that's what I would like to see.
Councillor Smith?
So in the study there, like where it has like the scoring and the ranking and all that stuff, does it take into account car counts, like traffic counts, cars per day, and does it also take into account how populated the road is, like the number of residences or anything? Is there anything like that, like population based in that study?
So the way our scoring was categorized was all based on visual. We do have a segment there that does apply the AEDTs. So the information that the township did have, or the municipality, did have, it does form part of that spreadsheet. However, most of the findings are based on the structural adequacy and everything related to that roadway. So if there are any adjustments required within that 4-year plan based on traffic volumes, we can entertain that. The primary focus is to categorize or group as many roads in the same structural adequacy level to get as many achievable kilometers possible. So in other words, if we were to go out and do 10 kilometers, but leave a segment that has, let's say it's a dead end street and we don't catch that roadway, you will be paying that much more in the year that you choose to go that way because we're no longer there. Does that
Yeah.
capture
okay.
what you're
yeah.
looking?
So just I'll get into a specific one. I don't know if we need to pick off specifics or not, but I believe it was in 2027. It's the ones that are highlighted in pink. I think that's the year 2027. There was Fulton Road was on the list to go. It's in pink. Is that 2027? Yes. Yeah. And so Fulton Road is a narrow road, hardly ever used, gravel, no winter maintenance, not open in the winter. And is this proposing that we're going to pave that?
So no, it's not. So there is a segment on the Fulton Road that probably 200 meters into a person's house.
Okay.
And then that's where it ends. So that would be
Okay.
this, it's double surface treated right now. So we would complete that and then the rest would stay gravel.
Oh, okay. So
Yeah,
it's not
probably
the, it's not the
that
whole
road
thing.
segment
Okay.
was done because it's a gravel road as part of our inventory.
Okay.
No, it's narrow. It's probably only 3.5, 4 meters wide at the
Yeah,
most, and it's
yeah.
through a bush area.
Yeah.
So no, that would not be paved.
Okay.
It would remain gravel.
Okay,
And it would
because I saw
remain
yeah, okay.
non-surface.
Yeah, because I saw the whole
no
thing was
maintenance.
highlighted,
Yeah.
so that's I just okay.
Yeah.
So and another thing that getting back to the gravel part, is there at some point in time, are we gonna make a decision at some point in time that since there's only 20 or whatever kilometers of maintained gravel roads left, are we just gonna bite the bullet and pave them at some point, or double surface treat them just to get rid of all of them, or what's your thoughts on that?
So I'll take it first. So through you, Mayor Broad. So our gravel roads are typically narrow. So there'd have to be some work done to widen them. A lot of them are 40-foot road allowance versus the 66-foot. So then we'd have to start taking land to make the roads wider. And I think that would be a real hard battle to do. So I believe that we keep our gravel roads in great shape. So keep the grader on them. We have all kinds of gravel on them. We've had a real good gravel program for the last 6 years that each road network has received 3 inches of stone twice. So there's a good base there. So if we can keep the grader on it, keep the potholes out of it, I think we'll be able to keep our gravel roads really good at this point.
And just to extend on that, that was the gravel road policy that we were recommending. I wouldn't recommend adding more to your road system as far as hard surfaces. I would be looking at some of the roads where you do have lower traffic volumes, where it doesn't maybe make sense to have them as a surface treated or microsurface road. Return those to gravel and start clawing some of those roadways back a little bit.
Very good. All right. Well, thank you. Thank you for your work on this, Mr. Grant. Appreciate all your time spent and the SD&G staff. Thank you, Director Hyman, and sure we'll talk more on Budget Day. Okay, action request 6A, FS 2025-10, Iroquois Plaza parking lot and storm relining. Treasurer Stewart.
Thank you. Through you, Mayor Broad. Now that the Iroquois Plaza rehabilitation project is complete and staff have compiled the costs for the project, it's time to start discussions with Infrastructure Ontario on financing the project. Currently, the staff is proposing to finance the full cost. I guess before any submission is final with Infrastructure Ontario, staff would come back to council for final approval. So at this time, all we're asking is so that staff can start the discussion with Infrastructure Ontario.
Comments or concerns at this time? Deputy Mayor?
Yeah, so there's no commitment on our part if we want to have further discussions at the budget on how we should finalize the funding on this one and the Mooresburg Plaza for 2026. We can have that
Through you, Mayor
fruitful
Broad.
discussion at the budget?
Correct.
Okay, perfect.
Nothing's
then that's fine.
finalized.
Okay, perfect, thank you.
Okay, see no other concerns. I have a motion, let it resolve that the Council of South Dundas direct staff to commence negotiating a 15-year term financing agreement with Ontario Infrastructure and Lands Corporation to finance $1,052,000 for the Iroquois Plaza Storm Sewers relining and parking lot resurface. And the staff return at a future meeting, provide council with final financing terms approvals prior to executing any agreement. Moved by Councillor Vino, seconded by Councillor Ward. All in favor? Carried. Okay, moving on to 6B, PE 2025-20 Development Charge Study. Planner Stephanie Moran and CEO Dahan.
Good evening, Council. So the report before you this evening asks you to receive the updated development charges background study and the associated addendum. So as I'm sure you remember, Council requested more detail on the projects included in that DC study back in August, and we reviewed the list in detail during our October Council meeting. You gave a lot of feedback, and so we took that feedback on which projects to include, which ones to exclude, and that resulted in us asking Watson and Associates to recalculate the maximum eligible DC rate based on the projects to include. So they prepared an addendum, and the project list did significantly change and reduce the gross capital costs from 5.9 million to 2.4 million. But because many removed projects only had small DC eligible components, the DC recoverable costs only actually decreased slightly from 2.8 million to 2.3 million. And so that remaining DC recoverable cost, they're mainly driven by 3 projects. So there was 1.3 million for the Parks and Recreation facility provision, 389,000 for the fire protection facility provision, and then 400,000 for the aerial fire truck. With the revision and the included projects, the maximum allowable DC charges are for a single and semis, $8,741. Other multiples, $7,191. Apartments of 2-bedroom plus, $6,022. Apartments that are a bachelor or 1-bedroom, $4,355. And non-residential is calculated by square foot at $1.65. So council has a few options to consider. The recommended option is to receive and file the report. So given the number of bills that have been passed lately, including Bill 17, a few of those bills have actually been provided to you as attachments. Provincial direction is not currently supportive of DC collection. But filing the study preserves council's ability to implement a DC bylaw at a later date when economic and provincial conditions are a little bit clearer. The second option, to receive the study and direct staff to bring forward the DC bylaw. So if council wishes to implement DCs now, staff can present a bylaw prepared by Watson with direction on rate options, implementation options, exclusions, and implementation timing. The third option is to receive the study and pursue a reduced DC rate. So council may direct staff to prepare a bylaw with lower DC fees than calculated. And then fourth, council may also provide an alternate direction. I think that's sort of it.
Thanks, Ms. Moran. Thanks for time and effort, obviously, put in. We've been kind of going at this for quite a bit, and so back and forth. Interesting on how the study actually works and removing projects that doesn't affect the bottom line exactly, right? So there's all calculations and percentages to understanding how the study would work. Premier Ford was right in our community last week or two, right? And congratulations to Edwardsburg Cardinal. They're getting their battery energy storage system set up. And Premier Ford talked about DC charges directly. Now, although I don't think he was directly speaking to South Dundas, because we have zero pot of money in DC charges, and maybe we'll implement maybe small. I do know that big cities have a lot of money in DC charges, preventing, housing development, which we really want to have. But I have sat across the table from Minister Finelli, Minister Rob Flack, Minister Quinn, and they've directly said to me is like, I would not implement DC charges, right? We have been doing so well with our delegations and our funding. I would not want to jeopardize any of the great things that we have going on. The housing starts that we're trying to get off the ground, Safavia's second, third, fourth buildings potentially coming. I wouldn't want to jeopardize any of those projects at this time. But I certainly accept that, we have infrastructure of the future we need to pay for as well, right? So certainly there's other options to look at, and we look at fees or other ways to generate income, to continue to repair, like our roads. We just had an assessment, right? There's opportunities there throughout. Appreciate the feedback from everybody. We certainly have been debating and discussing it, and I certainly want to hear everybody else's thoughts on it. But I'm certainly agreeing with the recommendation this time is accept the report, file it, we have it, and at any time we could, or a future council could implement the DC charges at that time. So that's my thoughts leading into this, but happy to hear everybody else's thoughts at this point. Councilor Vino.
Yeah, through you, Mayor Broad. This has been an enlightening experience for me. It's been extremely interesting, and there's been a lot of information passed across the floor here for months now. It was pretty dramatic to see that the amount of stuff that we pulled out of the list, how little of an effect it had on the bottom line as far as the fees that we could charge. So that was pretty interesting. For me, though, it's regardless of what the province says and everything, I look around at the municipality, and I'm unique position. I'm in business, and so I talk to a lot of business around here and whatnot. And we're in too much of a precarious position right now as far as our growth start, that I think it would be wrong of us to implement this at this point. I'm just nervous that we're just starting to get going, and I'm worried that it would stagnate it. I'd rather see how the increase in tax base from the development can impact our revenue streams before having to go to this direction. Especially the biggest one for me, I mean, I know housing is a big issue right now, but the commercial, the non-residential side, I mean, that we're talking huge money for these developers if they want to come in for a DC or if Safavia wants to develop or any of those types of things. And we're on the 401 corridor, and that's where DCs go. So I'm not in favor of it right now, but I would like to go with option one if it was my vote right now, is just to keep it available in the future. But I find us in a bit of a precarious spot that I'm just not comfortable going with it right now.
Councilor Smith?
Yeah, I'm going to agree with Councillor Vino. I will just receive it. We'll shelf it for right now. I mean, it's pretty obvious. It's in the news. We hear it weekly that the Ford government does not like DC charges. So I think that we'll just leave that right there. I think that we're going through a budget process. There's maybe some other ways we can change fees to maybe just try and increase a little bit extra revenue that way. I don't think that DC charges are the way to go at this point in time.
Councilor Ward?
Okay. Thanks, Mayor. So I think everyone knows that this was kind of something that I tabled with council at the beginning of our term. And to be honest with you, the intention behind it was because I hear it a lot in the community about new developments coming. And, you look around, like to Councilor Vino's point, and you can see there are some things that need to be done in the community. And raising the tax base every year isn't always the most favored option. And that was the feedback I was receiving at the time. Things have also changed dramatically since I think that we got into office. So I think, prices of things, interest rates, et cetera, et cetera. So to build a house now is a significantly bigger cost than it was when we first started out down this path. I also think that, we were looking for alternatives to revenue. We've identified an alternative. It doesn't mean that we have to implement it right away. I did have one question before I make my final comment. So through you, Mayor, to Ms. Morin, how long are these studies this study good for, and when would we have to re-index it, or do we have to do that?
Through you, Mayor. So 10 years.
10 years.
Good for you,
Okay.
10 years.
So I think it's a great, the staff recommendation, in my opinion, is valuable. And to your point earlier, Mayor, I do recognize that the province has given their opinion, obviously, and maybe I not necessarily sometimes supportive of them meddling in municipal affairs, but I can understand from their perspective that they're trying to build houses for people right now, and that's a priority, and we should all be on the same team. So in order to be a team player, if that means we have to table a little bit of revenue for a little while, then I'm okay with that, especially if the province is looking to give us some more grants or other communities some grants. So I think I support staff's recommendation.
Dr. Hare?
Thank you, Mayor Broad. I have a totally different perspective. First of all, I tend to agree with Councillor Ward. I do not believe that the provincial government is in tune of what large municipalities charge for development charges versus what small municipalities can be charging to offset their future costs. It's a bigger impact to smaller local municipalities than it is for a larger one. I mean, large municipalities charge $50,000, $60,000 per door for their development charges. We're not even near there. Not even near there. Everybody else around us has development charges. Everybody has grown around us with development charges, and we didn't grow without development charges. So the data is data-based, and it's shown that development charges is not going to have an impact. Knowing this firsthand as working for a development engineer for a number of years and now for a developer, I can tell you wholeheartedly that if a developer wants to come in to South Dundas, a couple $1,000s per door is not going to deter a developer from coming in to South Dundas to develop. That is factual. That is factual. If there's a business opportunity to be made, if there's a profit to be made on development, a developer will come regardless if there's a little bit of a development charge or not. The other thing I don't like, and we've said it, and yes, I agree we're partners with the provincial government, and we should be partners with the provincial government, but I've always stood by, don't threaten me with something, because I don't think that's being a very good partner either. So, you know, this is just my feeling on this. Obviously, I sit in the delegations with you, with my council, and I've heard very clearly on the messaging that they are giving us. I just wish if the provincial government doesn't want development charges, they would just flat out regulate that there is no development charges and make it easy for everybody and make it equal for everybody across the board. Because again, I don't think this is equal, that if we don't implement development charges, our neighbors are. So in 15, 20 years, when they've got growth-related items, they've got that money in the bank to do that. And we don't because we're afraid because somebody told us not to do it. So that bothers me a bit. It bothers me a lot, to be honest with you. But I'm going to recognize the report. I think the report is very good. I think staff has done a very good job on the report. I don't want to see us lose out in any potential funding down the road and break a relationship, which I think we do have a good partnership and a great relationship, at least with MPP Nolan Quinn, a great relationship and a great person that always has our back, or most times have our back when trying to get additional funding. So I appreciate that and I acknowledge that. So with that, I will support the recommendations as well. All I'm going to say is, being in the development world, developers will come regardless if there's a development charges or not. And that is the proof of the pudding, so.
Very good, well said, and I think correct. Any other comments? All right, I'll read the motion and call the vote. I have a motion, let it be resolved that the Council of South Dundas receive development charge background study and associated amendment and file for information purposes. Moved by Councillor Smith, seconded by Councillor Ward. All in favor? Carried. Thank you, CEO DeHaan. Thank you, Ms. Moran. Okay, moving on to 7A, bylaws. 2025-82, renewal of franchise agreement with Enbridge Gas. Clerk LeBrun.
Thank you, Mayor Broad. So the report before council this evening is seeking approval of a resolution to give the first and second reading of the bylaw to renew our agreement with Enbridge Gas. So the current agreement with Enbridge expires in October of 2026. So it might seem a little premature to bring this, but it is a multi-step process. So the first step of bringing this agreement back is we get the resolution, support resolution, then it goes back to Enbridge, and then there's a whole process behind that before it comes back for the final reading. And just to kind of, at a high level explain what this agreement is it essentially permits Enbridge to distribute, store, and transmit natural gas through South Dundas. So the resolution's before you, and looking for your...
Very good, Clerk Run. Ironically enough, CEO DeHaan and I had a conference call today with our representative Eastern Ontario for Enbridge Gas, not specifically on this topic, but just on natural gas in general for Eastern Ontario, seeing a lot of growth potential, knowing we need more gas, we got things going on, so we were really clear that we wanted to meet with their ACT Dev team, because they have an economic development team at Enbridge Gas that kind of dictates how new flows and gas lines run to our area. So we had a good meeting today, and we're going to keep working with them to get us more opportunities to us. So any other questions or comments on the agreement? Okay. A motion, let it be resolved that the Council of Municipality of South Dundas approve the following prescribed resolution. That this council approves the form of draft bylaw and franchise agreement attached hereto, authorize the submission thereof to the Ontario Energy Board for approval pursuant to the provisions of Section 9 of the Municipal Franchise Act. And that this council request the Ontario Energy Board make an order declaring and directing that the asset of the municipality electors to the attached draft bylaw and franchise agreement pertaining to the cooperation of the municipality of South Dundas is not necessarily pursuant to the provisions of Section 9.4 of the Municipal Franchise Act. That bylaw 2025-82 be read a first and second time. Moved by Councillor Ward, seconded by Councillor Vino. All in favor? Carried. B, 2025 amend municipal alcohol policy. Director Jansen.
Good evening, Council. So in front of you tonight is the bylaw, a follow-up from our discussion on October 30th, where we looked at the alcohol policy and looked at a few different options. So this is just the finalizing of the bylaw. I did make the one discussion that we had, which was moving Matilda Memorial Park into the acceptable in the schedules, but outside of that, everything remains as discussed that day.
Questions, comments? Seeing none, I have a resolution, let it resolve the bylaw 2025-83 being a bylaw to revise policy number 9-1 of the municipal alcohol policy be read and passed in open council, signed and sealed, and that bylaw 2017-57 and all previous revisions of policy 9-1 are hereby repealed and replaced by this policy attached at Schedule A. Moved by Councillor Smith, seconded by Councillor Vino. All in favor? Carried. C, 2025-84, adopt ice allocation policy. Number 10.3, Director of Parks, Recreation Facilities, Director Jansen.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So in front of you is another bylaw. This is to adopt the ice allocation policy. Very similar. We had discussions at the end of October with regards to this one. Very similar. I've had a little bit more discussion with the skating club on this one. So we'll start rolling this out here, a little bit more educational and using it as a tool, and then we'll run it out with the agreements here in the next arena season.
That's great. Yeah, it's a benefit for the users of being involved in minor hockey mid-years, knowing exactly what rule we should be following. So it's great to have a policy in place. Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, a motion let it resolve that the Council of South Dundas adopt bylaw 2025-84 being a bylaw to adopt policy 10.3, municipal policy for allocation of ice time at the Morrisburg Arena. Moved by Councillor Ward, seconded by Councillor Smith. All in favor? Carried. Okay, D, 2025-85, transfer payment agreement, Morrisburg Arena project. Director Jansen.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and Council. So in front of you is a bylaw to accept the agreement for the funding that we've received through the Community Sport Recreation Infrastructure Fund. I get it wrong sometimes. So this is obviously very exciting for us. This is sort of the last paperwork step here. So this is the agreement that sort of outlines who's responsible for what signs we have to put up, all of that type of stuff, but it formalizes when we get paid, all that type of stuff. So it's executing the agreement to get the funding here. So very exciting.
Excellent. Comments? Seeing none. Let it resolve that the Council of South Dundas bylaw 2025-85 being a bylaw to execute a transfer payment agreement with His Majesty the King in the right of Ontario as represented by the Minister of Sport for the Community Sport Recreation Infrastructure funding at the Morrisburg Arena Accessibility Upgrade Project be read and passed in open council, signed and sealed this 26th day of November 2025. Moved by Councillor Smith, seconded by Councillor Ward. All in favor? Carried. Boards and committees. Morrisburg Waterfront Committee, Councillor Vino, we have a meeting?
We did.
Good.
Yep, we did. So we met, was on the 4th, I guess. One of the biggest piece, we had a delegation, which doesn't happen too often. Steve Cruikshank came down to have a meeting with us, and he's actually kind of joined the committee. He's going to be coming to some of the different meetings going forward. His biggest goal is to start seeing the Morrisburg Amphitheater either do what his dad intended it to be, or find out what it needs to be and modify it, or whatever needs to happen to make it a good used piece of infrastructure at our waterfront. So looking forward to next year. I've had a few conversations with him about potentially doing some concert series and music and whatnot down there, and trying to get a feel for how that's received from the community, and then that will help guide us forward. So that was kind of the biggest thing I would say that came out of that meeting. We had an update from the Earl Baker Park group, which actually met this week on Monday. So there'll be some updates coming to the Waterfront Committee meeting next from that. We have some new events coming up that we're looking forward to. And we just talked about some of our events at the Waterfront Committee that are coming up, which will be the bonfire in January for the Christmas tree bonfire, which I believe Iroquois is also doing, and a little bit of budget talks for the budget proposals this year.
Cool.
So
Decided to have fundraising as well for the activities in the park.
Yes, so that's been. I mean, we provided an update, but
Yeah.
Eric Duncan's been spearheading that one, and so far it's going very good.
Good.
So the bricks are actually flying off the shelves, from what I'm told. And I think I may have gave this update once before, but the cost has jumped significantly as to what we anticipated, particularly to move the big piece. So we're currently looking for a little bit more, hopefully some in-kind work to help with that,
Okay.
or some just general funding, because it's going to take a lot more than what was anticipated to move that. Okay. So, yeah, that's where we're at. I don't know if I missed anything, Director. Good. 2 thumbs up.
Okay, excellent. Number C, SDG County Council. So last Monday, Deputy Mayor and I were in Cornwall at the county meetings, had a delegation of high-speed rail that will travel, through North Stormont and South Glengarry. I'm sure it's many years away. We had many questions on it, but many, many years away, I'm sure. Good discussion on County Road 22, which is North Glengarry, North Stormont, coming in under budget. So that's fantastic news. I'll be able to reallocate those dollars to future roads in the counties. Had a discussion and more follow-up on the Alvin Reynolds fire and the associated cost. It is a county forest, so we agreed that all the fire costs should be allocated back to each of the municipalities. So for us, it was our time and some equipment that were there. So we'll get more details on that, but we agreed we should pay for that at the county level. Approved our 2026 meeting schedule. Lengthy discussion somewhat on tree planting, and had a delegation or key information report from Phil, our forestry manager, and gonna have more details on tree line planting along county roads. Just updating. We did discuss the snowmobile trail permits, and the county council was also interested in bringing that forward to the Ontario government, which is great. Any opportunity we have to get in front of a minister to speak, we'll take every opportunity and tell our stories and what's happening. And it's really throughout Ontario. Had a resolution on the Conservation Authority, and Councillor Smith pulled that from our agenda, so we'll have more on that. A big training activity is going to happen the end of January for emergency response, so a practice activity. And it's over 3 days, and that's going to be a training event, and that's with the province and other partners and the counties and South Dundas. So we'll all get signed off on that training session. And then we had a couple other discussion topics around ACDEV, tourism, doctor recruitment. So quite a busy meeting last Monday. Anything to add, Deputy? I think I got it.
Yeah, you did. Just two things, though. On the County Road 22, I just think it's worth noting that we originally were going to fund it through debt, but the counties had enough reserves in their roads reserves, various reserves, that we don't have to fund it. So that's really good. So it saves on the interest rate. And just for Clerk LeBrun's knowledge, I did put in my calendar the emergency training, and I highlighted in nice big bold letters, "This is a training only."
Very good. Very good. Great. Is the not borrowing the money foreshadowing for our future meetings? Very good. Iroquois Waterfront Committee.
I'll let
Director
David do
Jansen?
that. Yeah,
Sure.
because I was away at.
Yeah, you were with us.
Yeah.
Yeah, so a quick update for council. The Iroquois Waterfront Committee met on November 19th. It was a good meeting. Much like Councillor Vino, there was a lengthy discussion on the tree burning and a little bit of event planning. As everybody knows, event planning always takes up a bunch of time. Maybe I should take away a thumbs up. Maybe we should go one thumbs up. Both waterfront committees in their November meeting did receive the park use bylaw and provided feedback to staff on there. Both were very happy to see it coming forward. I think most of the reviews and comments were positive, so it has been sent off for our legal review. So council will be seeing that coming back in the new year here. So that's continuing to move forward, and the committees were also both very happy about that. Outside of that, they did start doing some planning into next year as well. The committees, obviously, I think it was the first meeting that Mrs. Tom was the new chair of the committee, so a little bit of revitalizing of the committee. So they're planning slowing down in their January meeting and just putting basically one thing on the agenda, which is more of a revitalization strategic plan almost. They're going to take some of the previous plans and go through them and just sort of reset themselves as, you know, the committee's having a little bit of change themselves. So there's a lot of discussion about that, and then just an update on some of their ongoing projects. So I know the wildflower planting, we completed a little bit of that with the nice weather this week, and looking at a few of the brushing and the culvert repair that's been done.
Excellent.
Are we going to still have a joint waterfront meeting in December, or since both parties looked at the bylaw, are we deferring that? Or?
So there's a joint waterfront committee meeting. I don't think they're going to talk about the bylaw very much, but they will be talking about the tree burning event quite a bit. So there was one on December 9th.
Very good. County Library meeting. I don't always report back, but we kind of had 2 or 3 items that affected South Dundas. One was we had a delegation from Tri-County Literacy out of Cornwall, and really it was we talked about literacy, but in general how literacy affects homelessness and the food banks, etc. So trying to get them to come more into South Dundas and our community hub, because they're based out of Cornwall. So we kind of had some good conversations about them spreading out into the counties. So that was a topic. We did talk about stats, and then we had an October membership drive, and we had a competition within the staff for folks to sign up. So Amanda Alexandra won our little competition. It was great. I think we had overall in SDNG we had 450 new library cards issued out, so folks signed up to use the library, so that's great. And then on an interesting note is we passed an AI policy, and at the library level it was interesting about how we don't want users in the library to use AI to create books based on somebody else's work. So here's the example. You could you're in the library, you go into AI and say, create me a book based on Robert Munch's stories, right? And AI will create that. Well, since we're in the book business, we don't want folks using Robert Munch. Use their own thoughts to create stories, but not somebody else's. So this is an ongoing thing. So I just wanted to bring it up that was interesting how there's many things that can help us in AI and many things that, may be detrimental to us. So I just thought I'd mention that we introduced a AI policy about that in the library board. So it could be something we'd be looking more at for sure in the future, which leads into your request about scamming and all these things, right? There's all these areas where we should could lead into for sure. And then lastly, Councillor Smith, South Nation Conservation.
Yeah, so a couple weeks ago, a South Nation meeting, or actually it was just a week ago. Pretty much the entire meeting was just dominated by the news of
Province.
the news of the week. I guess it was the changes coming forward from the province. Long story short, the South Nation Conservation and every other conservation authority thinks it's going to be really, really bad. That's the long and short of it. There's no other way to say it. It's just going to be a complete shakeup of the entire conservation. The conservation authorities, as we know it, is going to cease, and it's going to be something entirely different. The management at South Nation and every other conservation authority is really concerned about how things are going to get done. You know, just looking at it from speed, efficiency, costs are going to go up, permit fees go up, service goes down, and those are the big things. Land that's been donated to the conservation authorities over the years, what's the future for that? There's land that they've purchased using levy money. What's the future of that? Is that going to get turned over to the province now? Is it going to be out of their control? Assuming the new agency that's created is going to have a board of directors, how much representation from the local level is going to be on that? Is they're talking maybe wardens from Eastern Ontario maybe have a position on the new agency, along with some provincial appointees. Are they going to be outnumbered? Is there even going to be, is it going to turn into a political organization to favor the mood of the day, or the mood of the whichever color of party is in power of any given year? And a few other things like most of the counties in Prescott-Russell have French language laws, so there's everything going to Prescott-Russell has to be in both official languages. Is that going to continue? Like that is law that has to continue, so there's costs associated with that. It's just I think there's so many things that haven't been thought of. There's so many questions, and maybe everybody is just at the initial onslaught of this, just kind of fear mongering or preparing for the worst. Maybe it'll end up being not that bad. Maybe it's just a scare tactic to and then it'll end up being, oh no, we'll just merge a few, and then it will remain the same. But right now everybody's quite worried about how this is going to end up playing out. So anyways, coming up, there's a resolution that has been created, a new one that's been created. There's a few things that have changed even in the last week. So I think Crystal's going to have the pleasure of reading that resolution, 3 pages. And so there's a few. We were going to support the one that got created from the counties, but we've decided to create a new one and circulate that. So that'll be coming up soon. So
Okay, we can have the discussion at that time, but that's a good update about your meeting for sure. Keep things in proper order here. Okay, consent agenda. B, information, key element report, building stats. D, information up the United Counties, SD&G, EOR and CELGAP. E, resolution, municipality of South Huron, Ontario Community Infrastructure Fund. F, resolution, Township of McGarry, GST, HST on new homes. G, correspondent, Watson Associate, amendments to authorize payment development charges at occupancy. And H, resolution, municipality of Wawa, rent protection for tenants. I have a motion. Let it resolve that all the items under the consent agenda be adopted as presented. Councillor Ward, seconded by Councillor Smith. All in favor? Carried. Okay, discussion items. We'll start with 10A, key information reports of Dundas Agricultural Committee. CEO DeHaan.
Yeah, thank you very much. So I'll keep this one as brief as possible. We've been developing a relationship with DFA just as a result of some of our discussions through the past summer. And one of the things that we've talked about at their board, is it board? Is that the right?
Yeah, I think so. Board, yeah.
Board.
Yeah.
Okay, at their board was about do we want to have some kind of formal committee that set up, or how do we want to continue the dialogue and relationship? So DFA is certainly very open to whatever council feels is appropriate and best. There's some pros and cons to whether we want to actually have a formal committee of council versus more of an informal ad hoc committee. So I've provided council with 4 different options that we could follow along with. One being creating a formal committee of council. What that does is, of course, create some formality and some requirements associated with reporting minutes and agendas and how public may be able to come and speak to the committee, but it does, there is some advantages to that approach too. Second option is, and again, kind of recognizing we're turning into the home stretch of this term of council. Maybe a formal committee isn't the best idea at the end of council, and rather keep it informal, ad hoc, create some formality to the process and how we communicate and how we keep track of action items, but keep it informal, see how we do in that format, and then maybe it's something that's considered the next term of council whenever council begins. Third option, which is either a combination of one or two, but to actually look to expand it a little bit more and look to our neighbors to the north Dundas, because they are part of the DFA. It's all of North and South Dundas. See if they want to join into something, whatever that relationship looks like, and then actually we have a forum for both North and South Dundas municipalities to speak with DFA. When I spoke to North Dundas, they kind of said, yeah, we'd be interested, but I wouldn't suggest that there was, I think if we investigated more, we could get greater buy-in. But at this point, they said, yeah, we'd be interested. Keep us posted on what you're thinking. And then the fourth option, which is we can actually just create, similar to what we've just, some of the reporting that council just provided, actually asked to be part of their formal board meetings and have hopefully ask for a spot on their agenda. And then we can use their board meetings as that formal avenue to continue those discussions, which is also an option. So again, DFA is open to whatever relationship our council feels is appropriate, and we look forward to actually growing that relationship because we've got some good feedback, and it's a great avenue for us to connect with our agricultural community here in South Dundas.
Yeah, and I think we go to their events, we participate in that. Councillor Smith always organizes a farm tour annually, so we get to meet a lot of our farmers in South Dundas specifically. Deputy Mayor, myself, and CEO DeHaan and some fire members did attend one of their board meetings a month or two ago, and I think there's a good value. They really, really want to connect with us in a way. So I'm kind of just in my thought process being at that board meeting. Like if we went a couple times a year to their board meeting, a few of us go, but specifically have agenda topics that we want to hit and take some feedback and offer them some feedback because we had some good wholesome discussions. All of a sudden, roadside tree planting on county roads is a topic, right? So that's something we could talk with them, right? Something that we put on a future agenda, and discuss and get their input on it as well. So that's kind of the way I was leaning. Deputy Mayor, you were at the meeting too. So.
Yeah. Thanks, Mayor Broad. I 100% agree with you. I think the value would be if we just attend their meetings on a quarterly basis or maybe a little bit more frequently. I think it should be open to all of our council to be able to attend their meetings. I don't think we should be assigning one or two people specifically, but I think your approach is fine. I think for at least 2026, we should just start attending and start getting some feedback and input and understanding more about their needs. And if the municipality's got an opportunity to assist with that as well. I mean, we talk about fire, you just mentioned fire training, right? I mean, I think we're probably going to heighten that training, hopefully in the upcoming future, so we can kind of bring them feedback of what we're thinking and they can give us their feedback of what they believe is appropriate. So I just think having an opportunity for us to show up every 3 or 4 months in a meeting, and if we all want to go, that's great. If 2 of us show up, that's even great. As long as there is representation that goes, I think I'm fine with that.
Yeah, they certainly have input like on fire, roads, conservation authority, drains, municipal drains. Yeah, there's lots of opportunity where we could have some topics or information sharing or whatever, answer questions wherever it may be. Councillor Smith?
Yeah. So just a quick question, and I don't know, maybe Deputy Clerk Fairburn might know the answer to this. Has there ever been an agricultural committee of council in previous councils? Like an official or a formal one or an informal one? No. Sorry to put you on the spot.
Well,
That's okay.
and there's a kind of a reason why Tom's probably asked that question. We were told there was, and then I think
Yeah.
in investigating, we couldn't find where it actually was an official one, but
Yeah, I don't remember an official one.
maybe we could ask the Mooresburg leader if they remember reporting on that.
yeah.
And if I may, through you, Mr. Mayor, expand on that, we did actually even check back with our former clerk just to see if there was something we were missing, and yeah, we couldn't find formal committee of council. And that's not to say that informally the groups didn't meet, but formal committee of council, as far as we can tell, did not exist.
Yeah. So the only thing that I was thinking on this one is it probably would be good enough if we just would attend, on a somewhat regular basis their meetings. You would get most of the issues covered. The only issue would be was that the Dundas Federation of Agriculture, the Ontario Federation of Agriculture, is not the only organization. There's 3, so I don't know exactly how active the other 2 are with meetings. I know that the DFA goes every other month, and there's 6 a year. I don't know if the other ones, like the Christian Farmers Federation, if they have regular scheduled meetings or not. And so if we would, to be fair, if we should be trying to hit all of them, or if that would be a reason to not just do that and do more of just an ad hoc committee here.
Yeah, good point, good question. Obviously, none of them have reached out to us at this point. So I mean, at least for 2026, we've got a couple follow-ups from our previous meetings, so we could do that and then revisit it. Yeah.
And
your point is good though, that there's no more farmers than just the people in that group.
Correct. And the other thing is, we love it when they come here as well. And so I know that there's been a few representatives of DFA here, maybe once or twice, and it's nice whenever they come to see us too, because as much as we are to reach out to them, it's nice to have them reach out to us as well.
Absolutely.
So
Yeah.
Just a quick question on that. But is there any crossover though? Like, I mean, would our main point of contact not be DFA versus OFA versus the other? Sorry, I didn't quite catch the other.
So in order to be registered as a farmer, you have to belong to one of the 3 organizations. You have to be a card-carrying member of one of the 3. So, essentially, so the DFA, the OFA would be 85% of the members would belong to that one. So we're hitting the largest segment. So the Christian farmers would be probably 12, and the National Farmers Union would be like the remaining 3%. It would be there'd be single-digit numbers and that would belong to that one. So.
Okay. Yeah. I'll keep that in mind, right? Yeah. For sure. So I think we're kind of thinking we'll just attend a board meeting or 2 in 2026 and ask them for delegations too when we have a topic we want them to share with us. Yeah. Okay. 10B, key information report, short-term disability, third-party adjudication. See you, Don.
Yeah, thank you. I just wanted to, run this by council. One of the things that identified just in my time here, and this is not uncommon. I've seen it in other municipalities, but I think as we continue to look at best practices in terms of short-term disability, backing up a little bit, here at the municipality, we are self-insured for short-term disability. So if someone is going off on a short-term disability leave, the municipality reviews the case, makes a determination at a staff level, and then essentially that individual would go on short-term disability based on the information provided until such time they're able to return to work, or if it transitions into a longer illness, into long-term disability, which is covered through our long-term disability provider. One of the areas where I feel, as CAO and kind of looking at it from a human resources perspective, where we can improve on that process is actually having more of an arm's length review of people's private medical information, because and not that I have a concern with confidentiality, but it does stay very contained whenever that type of information comes in that gets reviewed. But as myself, I'm not a medical professional. People's illnesses and challenges people have can be sometimes very sensitive, very private. or or quite frankly, very complex. And for us, I think the best practice would be actually to move towards a third-party adjudicator. So our long-term disability provider provides an hourly for-fee service and would be the one, so it's an independent arm's length review of short-term disability claims. So this is after 5 days, and what they would do is essentially to the employer confirm, yes, we have the appropriate medical information to justify this employee's leave as a result of their illness, and we can expect them, we'll give an update on such and such a date, or we're expecting them back if it's something simple like a broken arm or the healing time is X, and we'll work with you to get modified duties. The other advantage, and so that this is a service that's provided through Manulife at actually quite a surprisingly I would suggest competitive hourly fee billed on 10-minute increments, depending on how quickly they can work through a file. What I find is also another great benefit of this approach is that it's through our long-term disability provider, so a file is already created if someone transitions from short-term into long-term disability. There's a history, case history, medical history there, and it makes that process smooth because like I've seen it in my career where having employees that are transitioning into long-term disability, and if you don't have that right that right paperwork and process, there can be delays in kind of continuing benefits to those individuals, which can be very difficult, particularly if they're single-family income and whatnot. So I think what I'm looking for just from council is just to make sure that there's no objection to working with, and this is all coordinated through our benefits coordinator, which is Mosey and Mosey, who does all of our short-term, long-term, and health benefits. So they're the ones coordinating. It's a matter of us simply signing up and moving forward. But again, I didn't want to proceed unless had essentially a thumbs up from council to move this way. We don't have I would suggest a significant history of claims in short-term and long-term disability, so it's not a pressing issue. It's just something I want to get ahead of before the next one comes, and then it becomes a little bit more difficult to deal with. So that's what purpose of this report.
Yeah, no, I think this is a great discovery and a great work process improvement, right? And to have the decision making in the right person's hands with the right people, and I think it's a benefit for all of us. Yeah. So direction is continue on your path. Okay. 10C, information Duncan Street right away encroachments. CO Don.
Thank you. So I think whenever we talked about Duncan Street and some of the improvements, we were the right-of-way that extends to the waterfront. Whenever we talked about this last time and looking at getting a survey done, one of the items that was pointed out to council at that time is that we were unsure exactly the right-of-way limits. When we looked at the aerial photography overlaid with the property plans we had, it looked like there were some encroachments, but you never know until you actually do a survey because aerial photography doesn't necessarily, and those overlays of property lines don't necessarily, they're not survey accurate. So you got to get out there and find those pins to provide some assurance. So that was step one in laying out where the boundaries of that right of way were. We've done that work, and unfortunately, what we have discovered is that there's encroachment from the two neighboring properties. Just in my experience within my roads career, encroachments within the right of way is not particularly ones that are not used by vehicles. It's not uncommon at all, and it just sometimes happens. People don't know exactly where the boundary is, and things happen. So I don't think it's of any fault of anybody here. It's just the situation we're faced with. So the slide here just gives council an indication visually what that encroachment looks like on both sides. On the west side, we do have where it's approximate 10 by 20 shed that's completely located in the right of way by 1.3 meters is where that front edge of that shed starts within the right of way. On the other side, it's a little less, it's not structures, but rather asphalt pavement at the roadside, and then some interlocking brick at the near towards the water. So I'm going to call it like hard surface landscaping that's in the right of way. As council probably is aware, OPG does control the lands because this is an area that was part of the flooding. OPG does control the lands leading into the water. So there is an element of OPG lands there. Some of those the photography or the photographs that you see, the pylons are actually the locations of where the property pins are. And I know maybe a little bit difficult to see in the slideshow, but in the report, you can see that a little bit more clear. Coming back to council, is just trying to get a sense of what direction you'd like staff to take on this one, because there are several options that we can investigate and work with the neighboring properties on. And I do want to note that I did meet with both neighboring properties in advance of this meeting, just to let them know this was coming and make them aware that this discussion was happening. So option one that we're providing council for consideration is, I would suggest, the simplest option, and that's essentially to close that right of way and sell half to each property owner, or it doesn't necessarily have to be half. It can be whatever, whatever division council deems appropriate, and that's something we can have a discussion on a little bit later on. From a staff perspective, it's certainly the simplest way to resolve the encroachments. What we can consider as part of that process, looking at those revenues and increasing access and improving access at Duncan Park, which is right, 2 properties over from where this right-of-way access is, recognizing it does eliminate current access. So, I see the perspective of that does create less access to the water, and there is some, I guess the ability to put in kayaks and whatnot is relatively easy there because of the shoreline that we have there. And the other advantage of this approach is it does remove that maintenance obligation, or that, or you consider it a liability of that property, and kind of focus our efforts at Duncan Park. And ultimately, this would come at no cost to the municipality. Option 2 is we could look at selling a portion of the right-of-way to each owner. Again, I've given council a slight illustration of what that could look like, and it doesn't necessarily have to be to the dimensions that I show here. And what I'm trying to do is kind of resolve, if we kind of offset a new path at 10 meters wide to the waterfront, to resolve the encroachments and provide some setbacks to that revised right-of-way from the structures. You may look at something like this, where you have slightly wider to grab all of that, the existing structure, the path, and then enough to provide access, enough to resolve the landscaped encroachments, those hard landscaped encroachments on the east side. The advantage is it does resolve those encroachments and gets them out of some municipally owned property. We'd suggest, of course, if this is the approach, we want to continue with the delineation and signage that was proposed, just to ensure that it's very clear that this is public access to the water through this right of way. Those exact dimensions, again, we can come back and have a further discussion on. And I guess ultimately, too, we should be having a discussion with OPG, because if we are changing what that frontage looks like, may impact leases that we have with respect to that. Third option is we can maintain the right-of-way as it is right now and look at encroachment agreements with the landowners. So that's something that, from my time at the county, we exercised that quite a bit if we were looking at right-of-way widenings and started to grab fronts of homes and maybe garages, things like that. So there's no change to the right-of-way, and essentially that encroachment agreement says the day that this shed needs to be demolished, the day that this driveway needs to be redone, you take it off of our property, but until such time, it stays on there, and there's no cost and there's no rental fee, there's nothing like that. It's a relatively simple way to do it. We do, as a municipality, accept some, I'm going to call it liability, because those things are there, but ultimately it's a pretty straightforward way to resolve that. And then those are negotiated just with those landowners, depending on the circumstances that we have. And I think that's the last slide. So with that, I guess we'll look to council for what option they prefer.
Thanks, CEO DeHaan. Reoccurring conversation on Duncan Street. Interesting, the things you discover when you just want to build a fence or put up a sign. So how all those easements are. Through all the conversations, I've always so far been of the opinion to keep the property. So I'm with option 3, but happy to hear council if they have other thoughts on the topic. Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor Broad. Can you just go to your next slide? Option 2, I think it was. So option 2, on the west property, you have an 8-meter width there that you're showing. But if you go back and show the previous slide, next, it shows that shed shows a 1.3 meter offset, then it's about 3 meters wide, so it's about 4.3 meters from the outside east wall to the west property line. How did you come up with 8 meters? Could you expand on that?
It was just I'll be honest, I worked from the east going west, knowing what the encroachments of the driveway and the interlocking brick were, which was, I think, so about a meter, let's say. So a meter plus a meter extra gave me 2 meters on that side. Thinking of a 10-meter path, and we have 8 meters left over, knowing that 8 meters on that side is going to grab all of that.
Okay, I got you. So you work from east to west.
Again, those are purely for, like, if council wants to maximize what that new path is to the greatest extent possible, we can go to 0.6 meters and 4.3, and then have whatever's left over as the path. It really is up to council.
So do the OPG lands at the end? So is that under, not our rights, but is that, because our property lines kind of extend down there. I mean, I see a structure in the OPG lands. I mean, sorry, I'm trying to collect my thoughts here. In Iroquois, where we have the boathouses, right, there's a lease agreement with us through OPG with the boathouse. Is there any type of lease agreement or anything on the boathouses that's not boathouse, but well, I guess it is a boathouse, right, at the end?
So just looking to our CBO, no, we don't have any lease agreement to our knowledge.
Okay.
But we do, sorry, I just add on.
Absolutely.
We do have the OPG rights to that.
We have the
land.
rights, yes.
We have the rights.
Yeah,
We
okay.
have that agreement.
So
with
we've
OPG.
got the rights
Yeah.
to that, but no lease agreement with the owner of that boathouse. Okay, gotcha. Okay. Okay, so my opinion is, I am glad that we did survey it, so then we could see what was encroaching. I mean, I don't think anybody thought this. I mean, if you look at to the property owner to the west, did we sliver 6 inches off of his house? I mean,
Yeah, when I
like
see
that.
the stake, I was like,
Well,
oh,
yeah,
wow.
exactly. And I mean, even to the east, I mean, he's got the driveway that's kind of encroaching, and he's got some landscaping and stuff. I mean, if I go back to your option 2, I think the cleanest and the simplest is to have an equal offset from both properties on the east and the west, and let's say it's 5 meters and 5 meters, which then should cover any encroachments by either resident, and then have the residual as we keep it as our land. Okay, I do still believe, popular or not popular, that we should designate the property line somehow, because I just, there's a history there, and I think this is the cleanest way to hopefully put a period on the history of public access versus private ownership. And I think a fence is still warranted to designate the municipal right-of-way from the adjusted properties. Okay. My question would be, when you talk to the owners, were they in favor of purchasing the property to accommodate the encroachment? Were they in favor of that, or did you even talk about that?
So through you, Mr. Mayor, so what I understood through those conversations, there had been a historic request to purchase the right-of-way at a certain point before this council, and I don't think that was that request was, it wasn't followed through, it was decided not to at that time. And then I've also, so that was something that has come up in conversations, that there would be a willingness
To still purchase. Yeah, and
still
I recall
purchase.
that. I recall that. And both owners at one point in time
Yep.
have requested that. So they would be in favor of at least getting the 4 or 5 meters if that's the direction we're going to go in. That resolves the encroachment issue. I think still having the public access, whether we need it or not in the future, who knows what firefighting is going to look like if somebody's going to say, look, that can be a good access for us for a pump. To get down there and draw water, whatever. At least that gives a designation or delineation between the public and the private. I think that is and we put a sign there, public access, within the right of way. Not sure what we'd do at the OPG and the OPG lands, because I don't know if we'd be able to put a fence right down to the shoreline or not, but I think it's worth having them discussions as well. Okay.
Councillor Vino?
Thank you, Mayor, and through you. I've thought about this a lot the last few days and this afternoon, especially as to how I wanted to convey my opinion on this one. And I've decided to put my business hat on for this one and talk about assets versus liabilities. Because I have the same opinion about some other properties within the municipality as I do with this one. From the Morseburg Beach to the Morseburg Dock to Duncan Park and up to Farlinger Park, there's an exuberant amount of places to get to the water that don't go by two people's houses. I happen to live, my driveway's just off the picture there, so I do have an intimate knowledge of this particular case, but again, I share this view with multiple different pieces of property. That piece of property, in my opinion, should be split down the middle and offered to both sides as an option one. Because I don't know why the municipality would need to, we're going to have to cut the grass, have to build a fence, any of this kind of stuff. If the two owners that ultimately take that piece of property over want to build a fence, then more power to them. And then I would like to see that money from that and other pieces of property like it, designated towards the parks that we do advertise, that we do maintain, that we do, maintain public access to the river, for example, to improve those parks. Try to whittle down the amount of, we have these little pieces of property all over the municipality, and whittle down those little pieces of property. That Duncan Park is massive, and I'll admit that when we were talking about, because when I read this morning, when we were talking about Duncan Park, about allocating funds at the meeting on the 10th, I think it was, in my head, and so I had it wrong, but in my head I was talking about the road allowance extension that goes down by Duncan Park out into that field, and I thought that's where we were going to allocate some money to improve the water access there, because lots of people do use that. I would rather see the money come from a potential sale of that, splitting that down the middle and improving Duncan Park, more assets, whatever there, than trying to do some extra thing. I appreciate your point about keeping property and whatnot, but it's 2 doors down from a park that we maintain. And from a liabilities perspective, like right now, nobody's ever brought this up because this just hasn't come up until now. But, those property owners, they've been on that property cutting grass and whatnot. If they get hurt, whose liability is it? Is it on our insurance? Is it on their homeowner's insurance? That takes another piece of liability away. And I don't think, my opinion on this, I don't think I think the pros of reducing the liability and just taking ourselves out of that entire parcel of land outweigh. I think that does not outweigh the pro of like Duncan Park. Like, we're not taking away an extremely used piece of access. Duncan Park is the piece of access in there, in my opinion. So I'm for option one. I don't think the municipality should have anything to do with that piece of property, like cutting it up and stuff. So and it's strictly from a business point, the encroachments and whatnot, notwithstanding. Like, I mean, I'm speaking just from that parcel of land I don't think serves this municipality. I think the funds from it could better serve the municipality at a more popular park. So that's where I'm at, option one for me.
Councillor Smith?
Through you, Mayor, I'm going to disagree with Councillor Vino. I think we should go for option 3. I do not want to sell that right away. It goes directly into the shipping channel. At some point in time, there could be something there. it could be several years into the future. And I just don't think that I would be like to sell that at this point in time. Now, we enter an agreement, like those buildings are there now. They're there, that's fine. But as soon as they're end of life, they shouldn't be there anymore. And we should not sell that land. That's my opinion.
Councillor Ward.
I have a question, Mayor. So through you to the CAO, what's the width of that lot?
It's a 66-foot right-of-way, so 20 meters.
20 meters?
Yeah.
And then through you, Mayor, to the planner, what can be built on a 20-meter frontage? Other than, I guess, a shed.
20 meters of frontage, while it's undersized, is this area?
It's not serviced.
It's not serviced. I'd say more details would be required to better understand. I mean, a tertiary septic system might be the best choice, but there may be potential, may possibly not.
So very, through you, Mayor, sorry. Very unlikely to be something that the municipality would build on in the future.
For
like a structure.
For municipal purposes, very unlikely.
Okay, so I tend to agree with Councillor Vino. I don't see the value in keeping something that the municipality itself is never going to build on. And if we're going to make money off of closing a right-of-way and then investing that into a park we already have, we constantly talk at the council table about how many assets we have and how we can't afford to maintain the assets. And then we had just a great discussion today about roads and how those assets are deteriorating and how to come up with funds. So if we can get rid of an asset that I would say a very small population uses, because I can be honest and I'll be frank, the north of the 401's not using that asset. So in my opinion, if we can remove that asset, use the funds, and then invest it in a park that everyone can use and everyone knows about. There's playground there. Mayor, through you to the Director of Parks and Rec, there's a playground there. So more use, and then maybe even in the future, if you know, there's an ability to make some sort of kayak launch or something like that, that's an investment we can make with those funds into Duncan Park that we don't have right now. So I agree with Councillor Vino, and that's how I perceive it as well.
Deputy Mayor.
Thank you. I guess my question becomes to staff, which is kind of where Councillor Smith was going. In your opinion, would it be easier to enter into an encroachment agreement with the landowners, knowing that obviously landowners may not be there forever? Or would it be easier just to, I guess, sever off some of the, a 5-meter parcel and sell it to the landowners and then maintain, a not quite as wide as what we have it today, but if it's, it was 20 meters, right? So for, you go 5.5, you still get a 10-meter access point down the middle. So I'm just curious to see what your opinion, what would be the best for it, because I'm kind of hearing Councillor Smith said he didn't want to sell it, he wants to keep it. I kind of want to keep it, but I want to keep it with at least narrowing it down a little bit.
I think from a kind of resolving quickly perspective, to enter into encroachment agreements much easier than setting new pins, resolving property, closing parts of right of ways, selling bits of it. It's much easier to do an encroachment agreement.
With the encroachment agreement, though, is there potential of, if the public was accessing the right-of-way, that if, let's just say they were, I'll just pick to the property to the west, and somebody wants to play hide and seek behind the trees in the shed, but yet it's on on our right-of-way, are they allowed to do that? Is that still going to open up a Pandora's box where there could be potentially a conflict with the residents, the owners of the property to the east and west versus just the general public, using that. Because I'm gonna be quite frank with you, that's what I'm looking at. That's really what I'm looking at, is to have that little bit of separation.
Yeah, I do think that's a potential issue, is that conflict. I think with that property in particular, the advantage that exists there is there's a natural mature tree line, which, you know, that tree line is in the municipal right of way, but it certainly provides the visual cue that that is private property on that side of the tree line, and that's kind of, you know, where that shed is kind of in line with that tree line. So I think naturally people would assume that would be private property on the opposite side of the trees, and would, you know, if people are behaving in a way that's typical of human behavior, which doesn't always happen, would respect that. And if that's the direction we go, and I think I mentioned that in the report too, in lieu of a fence, a tree line on the opposite side, it doesn't have to be on the right-of-way limit. So on the east side, it could be a little bit off of the right-of-way limit. It may be something we want to look at in lieu of a hard fence too, so that it kind of mirrors the look of that tree line eventually over time, creates that separation, and it kind of fits with that the end goal of delineating public versus private. So if you ask me, you know, is it easier to enter an encroachment agreement? Absolutely. Does it create potential conflict? Absolutely.
Yeah, my perspective, the conflict outweighs the agreement, to be honest with you.
Councillor Ward?
I just want to ask a follow-up, and this is more to my council team. So I need an understanding of what is we want a path to the river 20 meters away from a park that has access to a river. I need to understand from the council team why. Is there not, like, and I don't know because I don't use, and that's why I'm asking the question. It's not an opinion, it's a question. Is there better access to the water there that you can't get at Duncan Park? And I just want a yes or a no. I don't know.
I don't know if,
The best access for recreation is actually at Farlinger Park. There's actually a boat launch there, like a gravel boat launch, that you can launch kayaks, canoes, and everything that is well outside of the shipping channel and the currents. So Farlinger Park, which is just a stone's throw up the road, actually has the best access to the river. The access at the end of Duncan Street Extension, or Duncan Street Road Allowance, versus Duncan Park, negligible. It's rocky at Duncan Park. It's steep and sandy rocky at Duncan Road Allowance. So really, if you're going to put a kayak in at either spot or try to go in and swimming, I would say neither of those are safe. If you want to do that, Farlinger Park is still the one, or the beach. So yeah, that's from my knowledge. I've been to all of them. I live up the road.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted to understand that.
So at this point, we have split decision somewhat. Obviously, does anybody like to rethink their option? Either myself or Tom, or Councillor Smith, I apologize, to selling it and keeping it still meets our need, or Deputy Mayor joining, keeping it all and having easements, or any of us want to join, sell it all and be out of it. Obviously, we're only voting for staff to bring back at a future date the actual bylaw.
well, Mayor Broad, I mean, I got to look towards Councillor Smith. I mean, I think the best option of not selling all of it is off the table. I think we should sell a sliver of it. Let's get the encroachments onto the private property and leave a public access. That's what I would propose to you, to see if you would support that or not.
So my first option is to not sell any. My option number two would be to not sell all of it. Unless there'd be, maybe just to go to staff on this one, would there be, or to your point about putting in an actual like delineation, a fence or whatever it is, a tree line, would there be a way you could just, do a 20-meter wide fence it and then do a lease agreement on both sides? Or
you can't fence against his house.
So I think that, no, I was just gonna say, I was just gonna say, what CO DeHaan was referring to is the natural tree line on the west side is about at the 5 meter mark now. Kind of, right, or where,
It's actually at the 1.3 meter mark because it's in line with that the front of that. You can kind of see it in the upper right picture. It blends in very well, but that's the front of the shed, and that's in line with the trees.
right, so, going to option 2, right, then the tree line would be on the private property. Sorry, I just wanted,
Tree line is in the municipal right of way.
the tree line is in the,
Correct.
today.
Correct.
If we were
1.3
to
meters
sell-
into the municipal right of way.
So if we go to option 2 and we're to sell either 5 and 5 or 2 and 8, where's the tree line?
So then if we are trying to, if the goal of selling, which it should be, if that's the direction council wants to take, is to completely resolve that encroachment of that existing structure, then the tree line will be on private property.
Okay. Councilor Vino?
So just a question or a point of clarification here for, like, I just want to make sure we're clear on what option 2 means. So the complaints originated because the public was going down there and the landowners on either side were not very thrilled with that, but ultimately it's a public right of way. So if we do the path idea, to alleviate any chance of that coming back, those complaints coming back, is going to be to fence it on either side or do a tree line or something, which inevitably will cost us money. So we're prepared to spend money on this asset that nobody uses to get to the water instead of selling it and taking the money and spending it on assets that we do currently use and are populated. That's what option 2 means. I want to just make sure that's clear here because I can't support that.
Councilor Ward?
Thanks, Mayor. So I would agree to Councilor Vino's point because I'm still a little bit lost on the thought path here. So if we're just trying to mediate a dispute between 2 private landowners, I think the best way moving forward is to sell it. If they've both asked us in the past to buy it, then I don't see what the issue is. I just don't understand why we would invest in an asset that we would then invest. We have to make an investment here. And even if we do trees, those trees are going to have to be maintained, right? And God forbid if one of those trees falls on somebody's shed, right? Like I don't understand the point of it. And like, I must be missing the point here, but I think I'm still on option 1 and I don't think I'll be convinced outside of that option.
So we have 2 option 1s, 2 option 3s, and 1 option 2 at this point. So we're at a stalemate.
Is that your final? You want to sell, you just want to leave it all?
Option 2 is the one we're creating a new path.
Through you, Mayor. Like, so option 2 though, you would never be able to build anything on.
Okay, we've already
Yeah.
talked about this. Let's just
Yeah.
vote. And this is gonna.
Well, we can't vote on it because it's not a voting
It's a
matter.
stalemate, but let him decide and.
But if his intent was to build, I want to be clear to Councillor Smith that at
No.
10 meter, you're never
No.
going to be able to.
No.
Because
It
that was
was-
your original point, Councillor Smith. That's I'm just.
Yeah, no, it was never to keep it to create a buildable lot or anything. It was to keep it for future water access. Like maybe there might be an actual dock there or a pier or something. That was the purpose of 30 years down the road of, you know, what could be there. And if we sell it, it's gone. That is the reason, so. And if we narrow it up, then that limits what could be in the future. So that is why, so that's, I'm sticking with my original one.
Clerk LeBrun?
Option 4.
So there, through you, Mayor Broad, and to council, there is an option 4 there, which is do nothing. And, it feels like there's not a consensus across the board, so maybe that's the option that we're going with for now, and we revisit it. Perhaps you want to direct us to come back with more information, but if council wants to stand their opinion and their options, then that would be my recommendation.
Of course, Deputy Mayor.
So this is just a clarification question. Technically, the 4 councillors, 2 are for one option, the other 2 are for a single option. Does that not give the direction because there is no deciding vote by the mayor?
So through you, Mayor Broad, we have an option 2, we have 2 option 3s, and we have 2 option 1s, right? I'm getting that right? Okay. Can you give me a moment just to check my procedural bylaw, please?
Sorry, Jason, I just...
Yes, no, I get to vote. I do get to vote.
But only on a vote tiebreaker.
No, I actually vote every time. I just, when it's 4 to nothing, I don't actually.
Through you, Mayor Broad, so this portion of the agenda is discussion only. So
Right.
there's actually no resolution to it. It's really, we're seeking direction at this point. So there's no, if it was across the board, you all, felt the same way, easy, we can come back. But because there's no real, consensus, then
Do nothing is the.
I think that's
option.
the option at this point. Unless council wants to direct us to come back with some further information.
A, what information would that be? And B,
There's no further information.
and B, when would that be?
From my perspective, I mean, I respect everybody's opinion here. I'm getting a little hot under collar because I'm going to be quite frank with you. There's a more to this story than what we're saying, and I'm not about to say it in a public forum. So I don't think there's any further information on this. But I think we should bring a formal report. And if it's the same report, it's the same report, and then we put it on the record how we vote on it. And if anybody has the opportunity to think about it a little bit further, including myself, obviously, then we've got the opportunity to do that.
So,
Directions to bring back an action request.
and actually vote on it?
Yeah,
Fine with that?
that's fine.
All right. So we have agreed on something. And that is to bring back the report as is. And if there's any updated details, we can add in at that time. And at this time, the council team get an opportunity to have some side conversations with each other, one-on-one, to understand some of our points of view. Very good. Okay. Moving to 10D, which is 9A, key information report, well water concerns. Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor Broad. And I was reading that report, and I thought it was quite interesting, and I really thought we should bring it to the forefront a little bit. I see that, obviously, we all know that this year, through the drought season, it's been very difficult, especially with people on wells. Some of us had to conserve our water, and other people has, unfortunately, their wells have run dry. So when I saw this report and I saw I guess the reach out to the public who are on wells, that we are here as a municipality to try to assist And one of the key things that I saw in this report was offering showers in our arena dressing rooms for anybody that wanted to continue consuming water at their house. And I thought that was very interesting. And I just thought we needed to maybe bring that to light a little bit, and maybe that Dennis Villeneuve, Manager Villeneuve, could maybe expand a little bit on this, and if not today, maybe the next meeting come back with maybe a further report, or what his thoughts are on, like, are we talking 8 to 4, are we talking 4 to 8 in the evening, and we talking Monday to Friday, we talk, because there's the rink that gets rented out as well. Is there a designated area for the showers? So I really just wanted to get some feedback on this, but I really want to say, look, we are here to help. We'll try to help the best we can. If this is a little bit that we can do now, then this may go a long way for some people. So could you just expand on what your thoughts are on the program?
Yeah, through you, Mayor Broad, to Deputy Mayor St. Pierre. So we're going to promote this through social media and through, we're going to put it on the municipality website. I just want any resident to know that's in South Dundas that if they're having well issues, that they can call the municipality office Monday to Friday between, I guess not Friday, but Monday to Thursday, 8 to 4:30, to schedule times at the arena. Director Jansen would make sure that there's room in, like, a change room for a family to come in and take showers if they're having well issues. Like, we're here to help any residents in the South Dundas if they're having any well issues. So this is just something that I feel that was a nice gesture for the municipality. If there is people having issues, that we're here to help out, and just make sure you schedule a time at the municipality office, and we're there to help for them.
No, I certainly appreciate that. So let's get that on our Facebook, and let's promote that. And I think that's a good thing that you're offering up, for sure.
Thanks, Deputy. Thanks, Manager Director Villeneuve. Notice of motion under 9C, Resolution United Counties SDNG Conservation Authorities. Councillor Smith, further.
Yeah, so I just pulled this because I was going to talk about the resolution from the counties, but to support that one. But since last week, there's been some new findings and some new wording that has come out, that new resolutions that have come out of South Nation. So they've passed along one dust, and so I'm going to turn this one over to Clerk LeBrun.
Thank you, and through you, Mayor Broad, to council. So, as Councillor Smith mentioned, a resolution has been circulated by SNC to the lower tier municipalities seeking support. So, I do have a resolution here. It's quite lengthy, so you'll have to bear with me. But Mayor Broad, perhaps I can read it, and then we can ask for a mover and a seconder.
Sure. And/or discussion about the resolution.
Yeah.
After it's been read?
Yes, absolutely.
Very good.
All right. So whereas the Conservation Authorities Act enables municipalities to establish conservation authorities and to appoint locally elected representatives to their boards, ensuring direct municipal oversight and accountability for programs funded by municipal taxpayers. And whereas the municipalities within the South Nation River watershed established South Nation Conservation in 1947 to protect people, property, farmland, water resources, and natural systems through a watershed-based model that reflects local geographic, hydraulic, and community needs. And whereas municipalities within SNC jurisdiction currently provide between 25% and 50% of total funding for conservation authority operations, while provincial funding has declined approximately 3% in recent years. And whereas SNC delivers essential services that support municipal responsibilities, including natural hazard identification and permitting, watershed planning and development review, flood forecasting, emergency management and low water response, drinking water source protection, watershed monitoring, supporting and technical studies, sustainable forestry, agricultural stewardship and restoration programs, management over 13,000 acres of conservation lands, including lands donated by residents and managed through municipal services agreements, And whereas on November 7th, the Ministry of Environment, Conservation and Parks posted a proposal to consolidate Ontario's 36 conservation authorities into 7 regional conservation authorities and to establish a new Ontario Provincial Conservation Agency with limited consultation and without accompanying cost-benefit analysis or evidence demonstrating the need for this restructuring. And whereas Schedule 3 of Bill 68 enables the province to assume governance authority over regional conservation authorities, raising concerns regarding diminishing municipal representation, loss of local decision-making, and centralization of watershed management. And whereas municipalities in Eastern Ontario have expressed concern, including the United Counties of SDNG, that restructuring may increase red tape and administrative burdens, impose significant transition costs for HR, IT, land transfers, and governance realignment, dilute rural voices within large regional agencies dominated by major urban centers, erode donor confidence, and affect the stewardship of thousands of acres of locally donated lands, disrupt bilingual services delivery in designated municipalities governed by the French Language Services Act, and whereas conservation authorities, including SNC, already collaborate regionally through successful shared service models, joint watershed studies, coordinated flood forecasting, agriculture stewardship partnerships, digital permitting, and harmonized technical reviews, demonstrating that modernization and efficiency can be achieved without dismantling local government structures. And whereas municipalities rely on SNC's field-based expertise, rapid on-site support, landowner relationships, and local knowledge, services that risk being weakened under large centralized regional structures. Now therefore be it resolved that the municipality of South Dundas urges the Government of Ontario to maintain local municipally governed watershed-based conservation authorities, including SNC, South Nation Conservation, to ensure effective natural resources and natural hazard management, transparent local services, and accountability for municipal levy dollars. And further, that this council does not support the proposed consolidation boundaries presented in the ERO 025157 or the creation of a new provincial conservation authority without evidence-based analysis, transparent consultation, a clear articulation of impacts to municipal budgets, local service delivery, donor lands, and bilingual obligations. And further, that the council encourages the province to work collaboratively with municipalities and that conservation authorities to identify opportunities for improved consistency, modernization, and shared service approaches within the existing watershed governance. And further, that the copy of this resolution be sent to the Minister of Environment, Conservation and Parks, local MPs and MPPs, all municipalities within the SNC watershed, the Association of Municipalities, Rural Ontario Municipal Association, Conservation Ontario, and all conservation authorities in Ontario.
Take a breath and drink water. Yeah, so obviously, Deputy Mayor, I were at County Council where we had a discussion about this, and certainly supportive of the last paragraph, which was what we had discussed at County Council, that encouraged the province to work collaboratively with the municipalities to identify a consistency. One thing that I believe, Councillor, but you can refresh my memory, I was just trying to look it up, is that it's been added that we're encouraging them not to do this work, right? Which was not in the original resolution. That's correct, right? So to ask them not to do the work when they haven't even decided what it would look like, that's not. How do you know that it's not going to be good? How do you know that all these things might be addressed, right? So I really liked when we talked at the county council level that it was, hey, we encourage you to work with us to figure out what that looks like. And if in the end it's not to move it ahead, but to send a resolution that says that's not moving ahead when we haven't even started it. And we can always debate, well, the province is putting the cart before the horse. They didn't have a plan before they announced, well, you gotta gotta get a team together, it's complicated, right, to just say one way or another. So that's just kind of what I thought about when I seen the updated resolution, that's all. I don't know if anybody else has a comment on that or not. Councillor Ward?
Thanks, Mayor. So I would agree, like, with your idea there. Like, I think it's well overdue that the province look at the efficiencies of conservation authorities, and I'm not particularly talking about any in our region, but there are others. And I think, you know, I know that ours work collaboratively to begin with. There's often staff that go back and forth between the RRCA and SNC, and they work so well together that to the police department, the OPP officer that said they're really just one entity. You often find that between SNC and RRCA, and I think that that's a big change compared to what it used to be, and I think it's a proactive change for everyone involved. So I look forward to seeing the feedback they get, the information they get, and then looking at those efficiencies if there are any to be had. So I would like to support that we maybe revise that last line, but we're just two, so I'll wait to see.
Councillor Smith?
So sorry, Crystal, could you just repeat that last line again, just to clarify, because I was kind of in the middle of a coughing fit.
So, through you, Mayor Broad, can you tell me
Yeah,
exactly?
so what the last line is, and furthermore, the council encourages the province to work collaboratively with municipalities and conservation authorities to identify opportunities for improved consistency, modernization, shared service, etc. I agree. The new line is, 2 paragraphs before that. Furthermore, that the municipality of Southdown urges the Ontario government to maintain local municipal government watershed conservation authorities, including South Nation, to ensure effective natural hazard management. And furthermore, the council does not support proposed consolidating boundaries. Like, did they say we're joining South Nation and Reese River together?
They are proposing joining the 5 in Eastern Ontario together. So everything from Kingston east up to Ottawa to the Quebec border would be one organization.
Right.
If it was just raised in South Nation, I would not be that concerned.
Right. Yeah, Ms. Moran.
Through you. So the consolidation would result in 7 total conservation authorities. It goes far, like past Pembroke, going north, and then, yes, all the way to Kingston.
Yeah, right, that's the eastern zone is one of the zone. Right.
So to answer your question, yes, we don't know yet. This has been proposed. It's in comment period. They've not made any decisions. So, but the new resolution is saying that no, we don't support it.
And I'm not trying, maybe making a bigger deal out of it than it is, but I was just trying to be like, but if we're asking, but the last paragraph is like, we want to work, if it's already been decided, then what is it? But if it hasn't been decided, then we're gonna work with. So I was just trying to make it one or the other.
One or the other.
One or the other. That's kind of maybe what I was thinking when I came across it, so.
End of the day, as long as we support one, the message is
and maybe it's a moot point. I'm happy to move on, but I just wanted to make my point that I felt like it was, we don't know all the details yet. We're urging them not to go ahead with it.
Yeah.
Clerk LaRun?
Just a point of clarification in that, and further that this council does not support line. It does say, like the way I guess I'm interpreting it is that we're not, the council does not support it without the evidence base, like without receiving the information.
And if that's the way we interpret it, then that makes sense.
So through you, Mayor Broad, in light of, we're just bringing this notice of motion without kind of council seeing it in advance, I'm happy to circulate this and bring it back at the next council meeting too, if there's any amendments we want to make. Perhaps that gives council an opportunity to.
Yeah, we're
to
back
give
here in
some
2 weeks
feedback?
and we get it out, and that makes sense. And
Yeah.
if that's okay, Councillor Smith. Yeah, no, I'm supportive of making sure we get the right thing. So don't get me wrong. I was just because when I read this SD&G one, I was like, oh, there's a lot of points here, and then the ask is to work collaboratively, right? So I'm like, okay, this makes sense, right? Let's make sure we get our point across, and then, as you say, things keep changing, and more information comes out. Maybe I'm not privy to all that, so let's have some time to talk about that. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay. That concludes the regular portion of our agenda. I have a motion that we move into closed session at 8:33 p.m. to follow items under section 239 of the Municipal Act, labor relations, employee negotiation, litigation, potential litigation, including matters before administration tribunals affecting the municipality or board at 8:34. Moved by Councillor Ward, seconded by Councillor Smith. All in favor? Carried. All right. The Okay, South Dundas Municipality Council meeting for November 26th. I have a motion, let it resolve that council rise to reconvene into open session at 9:33 PM. Moved by Councillor Ward, seconded by Councillor Vino. All in favor? Carried. I have a motion, let it be resolved that bylaw 2025-86 being a bylaw to adopt, confirm, and ratify matters dealt with, resolution be read and passed and open, signed, and sealed. Moved by Councillor Vino, seconded by Councillor Ward. All in favor? Carried. And let it resolve that the council now adjourn to call the chair at 9:34 PM. Moved by Councillor Ward, seconded by Councillor Vino. All in favor? Carried. And with that, we'll say goodnight from South Dundas.